I'm so used to seeing stories of people as like, oh, this celebrity's downfall, or oh, that celebrity's downfall, or oh, can you believe how bad this celebrity did? I know that there's an infamous amount of them right now. Some very well deserved. Harvey Weinstein and Danny Masterson, just to name two. Yeah, because Harvey Weinstein, the thing about him was, I don't think anybody really liked him. They liked him personally, they liked him because he got the movie roles. And they tolerated his stuff. And yes, when I say tolerated, I mean they most certainly tolerated it because it's impossible to not have known. Especially all those people who thanked Harvey at all those award shows.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey
Harvey
Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey
Weinstein.
Harvey
Weinstein.
Harvey
And God. Harvey Weinstein. The Punisher. Old Testament, I guess.
You did it. I didn't. You did it. Shut up.
While there are celebrities who have their falls and everything like that, there are those who turn things around. There are celebrities who turn their lives around and make a career resurgence. The one that I can think of, probably the biggest ones, I know that there's, Samuel L. Jackson, for the vast majority of his early career, he was a very bad drug addict. So bad, in fact, that he got kicked off a lot of the Broadway plays that he was involved with because of his drug issues. And he didn't get clean until his early 40s. And when he finally got clean in his early 40s, he finally did a series of films. He did Jungle Fever, Pulp Fiction, and what was that other one that he did? Juice, around that time. And he did all those films, and everyone just fell in love with him. He became one of the next big Hollywood leading men. And then another one, Robert Downey Jr. The dude spent 3 years in prison, and then just a few years after getting out of prison, he's Iron Man. Shit's crazy, dude. Shit is crazy. And
Macaulay Culkin's one of the recent ones.
Yeah.
That I can think of. Because he kind of had a rough time apparently for a very long time, and now recently he's kind of started to actually come back into public relevance and such. And
well, he tried to get his acting career moving again in the early 2000s with a movie, I think, Party Monster was what it was called. It was him and Seth Green. And a lot of people liked it, but he was still not clean when he did that film. He was very badly abusing drugs still. And I hate to say it, but when you still abuse drugs in that nature, you're still not 100% yourself. And you wind up valuing the drugs more than you value yourself and value the people around you. And it makes it to where people just push away from you, basically. But thankfully, he has gotten clean, and it looks like he's back to being the Macaulay Culkin we know and love. Minus the parental bullshit. Yeah, fuck you, Kit Culkin. Using your son as a meal ticket for the vast majority of his life. Matter of fact, trying to use all your kids as a meal ticket. Such bullshit. Anyway. We got celebrities who unexpectedly turned their lives around by Sonny V2. Let's check out and see which ones Sonny's got on here. Here we go.
Out of every celebrity we'll cover in this video, there are
Lindsay
few who
Lohan,
fixed
Drew
their life
Barrymore.
like Robert Downey Jr. Between 1996 and 2001, he was arrested on 6 separate occasions for some crazy different reasons. By this point, he'd already been a famous actor for roughly 10 years, although this didn't stop a judge from giving him 3 years in prison. Upon release, he managed to land a single TV show role, which he was then fired from after police arrested him again, this time for walking around LA under the influence without any shoes on. Given this also resulted in Robert Downey Jr.'s divorce, it's no surprise he'd state it was my lowest point in terms of addictions. At that stage, I didn't care whether or not I ever acted again, although thankfully this didn't happen. He'd appear on Oprah stating,
And I said, you know what, I don't think I can continue doing this. And I reached out for help and I ran with it. It's not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide.
although with his reputation in the dumps, the only role he could land was in an Elton John music video, and when he did return to the big screen a full 2 years later, producers withheld 40% of Robert Downey Jr.'s income to ensure he wouldn't relapse midway through filming. Only 7 years after being released from prison, Robert Downey Jr. was cast as Tony Stark in Iron Man, which grossed almost $600 million at the box office.
I remember them saying, in terms of Hollywood comebacks, that was the biggest of all time right there. Because Robert Downey Jr. in the 80s was a very big, like, young heartthrob star. People forget that. He was like a teenage heartthrob all throughout the 80s and everything. Then throughout the 90s, he just flip-flopped back and forth, like, between drug addictions and everything. And then by the time the 2000s rolled around, everyone forgot about him.
And then sometime before Iron Man, he also did Tropic Thunder. I can't remember what year that was.
Was that before or after?
Before, I'm pretty sure, because I knew who he was when Iron Man came out, and I only learned who he was because of Tropic Thunder. And when I first saw Tropic Thunder's poster, I didn't realize that Robert Downey Jr. was actually a white dude.
Yeah, 2008. That was just before it. That was 1 year before Iron Man came out. Damn. So, there you go.
And paved his way for another 7 Marvel movies, although Samuel L. Jackson's turnaround might be even cooler. He'd met his alcoholic father only 2 times in his life, and having grown up in a broken home, it's no surprise that Samuel L. Jackson became an alcoholic himself. In his early 20s, he was booted from 2 plays on Broadway for his substance abuse problems, and by his early 40s, he was still an unknown actor with no money and a heroin problem.
That, Coming to America, what blew me away whenever I saw him in going back and watching Coming to America, knowing who he is now, like, in that movie, he was 40. He was 40 when he did Coming to America. That is unbelievable to me. 40 years old. And never giving up the idea or the dream that he would finally be able to get over the hump and be a actually respected actor. It's unbelievable to me, man.
Problem. Samuel L. Jackson finally attended rehab at the age of 43, and amazingly, only 1 week after doing so, he'd star in a movie called Jungle Fever, which just so happened to be his major breakout role.
Oh,
Once I
man.
got clean, everything kind of changed. The correlation between my career changing and me getting straight is very clear.
In just a couple of years after getting clean, Samuel L. Jackson starred in Jurassic Park, Star Wars, and Pulp Fiction, which then turned
Jurassic
into
Park
another
was the
6
one I couldn't
Tarantino
think of.
movies, and his role in every single Avengers film. Despite finding no success until the age of 43, Samuel L. Jackson has grossed more than any other actor in human history, with Robert Downey Jr. being right behind him in rank number 2.
That is
This
crazy.
is good evidence that success is proportionate to struggle, which is a point often talked about by Oprah Winfrey. She was born to a single teenage mum who was living off welfare on a farm in Mississippi, and as a result she was primarily raised by her grandmother, who dressed Oprah in stitched together potato sacks and whipped her for reasons as petty as playing with the family's drinking water.
You get whipped, then they'd be annoyed that you were still sulking about it. You better wipe that frown off your face.
It's therefore no surprise that Oprah had run away from home at the age of 13, although this would lead to her first job as a part-time news reporter, which she was then then fired from shortly thereafter.
I only came to co-host a talk show because I had failed at news.
With nowhere else to go, Oprah joined one of Chicago's lowest rated TV shows, which then became the city's highest rated talk show less than 2 months later thanks to her presence. Her contribution was so important, the show was not only named after her, but would also become the most popular talk show in American history only 2 years later. In 2003, at the age of...
That is, I'm not going to say pure cult of personality. That is charisma to the max right there. When you are so undeniably, charismatic, and, it just blows me away how some people have that ability. It's an it factor that a lot of people don't think about nowadays. That's just like what's her name? Adele. Adele. I know a lot of people are sick of Adele. A lot of people hate Adele, but the charismatic performances that she does, a lot of people are just drawn to her. Same thing with someone like Beyonce. Someone like oh gosh, I'm trying to think of others nowadays that I can think of that I guess I don't feel it, but I know there's a lot of people out there who feel it. Taylor Swift. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan or anything like that, but
Lady Gaga is the one that I actually identify with.
Lady Gaga. There you go. There's another
the thing
one
too is charisma is also subjective to an extent.
Yes, it is.
Because there are people who are charismatic to a certain demographic that aren't charismatic to other people. Like, for example, Vil Vallo, from him, to the emo girls in high school around 2003 to 2005 that I knew. That was probably one of the most charismatic motherfuckers alive, but everybody else didn't give a shit about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I remember my very first ex-girlfriend talking about Vil Vallo and how she was so fucking hot, how he sits on the stage and smokes a cigarette while he was still singing like that and stuff.
Oh, God.
And it's the guy from The Cure was one of those before that, for
oh,
the
yeah,
goth
yeah.
girls and everyone that was in that kind of demographic.
Robert Smith is just his own.
People who weren't in the goth demographic didn't really give a shit about him.
Well, he's just his own enigmatic presence. It's his enigmatic nature and his off-putting attitude towards the fame bug and all that I think a lot of people draws him in, but he's a charismatic performer and he's a great songwriter. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But
Oprah being on TV, she just appealed to basically every single housewife of the time, pretty much.
I can see that.
I remember my mom watching Oprah when I was little.
Same, dude. My mom
probably just all I like her. She's a lot of fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
49, Oprah ranked as one of the world's 500 richest people, also becoming the first black billionaire in human history. And while that's a redemption almost impossible to top, Fergie might come close. Despite graduating from high school
I knew
as
she
a
had drug
straight-A
problems,
student,
but I didn't know
Fergie
they
began
were
using crystal meth every day at the age of 26,
Oh,
causing
damn.
her to drop down
Jesus.
to 90 pounds or 40 kilos, stating, "The drugs thing, it was a hell of a lot of fun until it wasn't," given she
Oof.
experienced psychosis, dementia, and even hallucinations on a daily basis.
I started getting really paranoid. I went one day into this church, and I thought that the FBI and the SWAT teams were outside of the church.
Although this episode in the church also happened to be her turning point.
And I said, if I go out there and the FBI and the SWAT team's not out there, then it's the drugs and I'm stopping. So obviously I went outside of the church and there was no SWAT team.
Did you keep your promise?
I kept my promise.
That was it.
That was it.
Fergie kicked her meth addiction in 2002, just months before joining the Black Eyed Peas, where she'd find unbelievable success with Where Is the Love only 1 year later. Fergie has since had a child, built a net worth of $45 million, and is almost 22 years clean. But while
that's well done. I mean, Fergie, the thing with her is I've never okay, the Black Eyed Peas for a while I considered to be one of the better R&B groups of the 2000s and 2010s.
I never cared for them at all.
But for me, whenever will.i.am got on the bug of just like, I'm the greatest producer of the 2000s and the 2010s, now watch as I rip off Deadmau5. Boom, 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 boom. Literally. That's the thing. He ripped off Deadmau5 and and when he got called out on it, he was just like, I can't believe people are coming after me for something like this. It's ridiculous. It's a sample that, that anyone out there could have found and this and that. And then Deadmau5 is just like, it's like, dude, this is my sample that is part of my song, and you literally used it, and you're like, dude, I don't care, but at least give me credit for it. I mean, that seems fair enough.
Doesn't Deadmau5 record most of his own samples?
Yes, that's the crazy thing, is like Deadmau5 goes out of his way to create new samples. And that's something about him as an artist that I love about Deadmau5. I may not like all of his stuff. As a matter of fact, I haven't really been as much of a Deadmau5 fan here over the last 4 or 5 years, but I'm never not gonna find his methods of finding sounds and creating new soundscapes interesting. But Fergie, I remember a lot of people in the 2000s and 2010s just being in love with Fergie. Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, Fergie, she's so beautiful, she's so gorgeous, this and that. And me, I thought she was cute, but
I never saw the appeal.
I don't know.
But it is cool that she managed to get off of a horrible drug.
Oh yes. I
never really knew that about her. So.
I have family members who've been addicted to meth, and some who are still addicted to meth, and they got kids. They got stuff in their life that I really wish they would get clean for, because that to me is what's more important. Fuck the drugs. Fuck just all the stuff, the selfish nature of taking drugs just for yourself. If you're going to take a drug, make sure that it's going to be one that truly helps you and helps the people around you. For instance, and I'm not saying all drugs are bad. Hell, I know people who imbibe cannabis and it helps with their bipolar disorder. It helps with their emotional distress. And again, drugs aren't for everybody. But just whenever you're using it...
It doesn't really help anybody, though.
No, it doesn't. Although there are people out there who say that, Adderall is basically like meth light?
Nah, it's more like cocaine light.
Fair enough.
While Fergie had to wean herself off only one drug, Drew Barrymore had to do so.
Oh my god. Oh my god, Drew Barrymore. The fact that she is alive is a miracle. I'm not joking. The fact that Drew Barrymore is alive and has a working brain is mind-blowing to me, considering all that she's been through. I mean, holy shit. When I heard about it, I didn't believe it.
Coming from an extremely famous Hollywood family and landing one of the lead roles in E.T. at the age of 7, Drew Barrymore was an alcoholic by age 11, a drug addict by age 12, put in a mental institution at age 13, and was legally divorced from her parents by her 14th birthday. She was therefore blacklisted from Hollywood at age 15, was cleaning toilets to make ends meet at 16, and by her 27th birthday she'd been married and divorced twice. Addiction had always been a major family problem.
Almost all of her ancestors were alcoholics.
And would even lead to her doing a nude Playboy shoot in 1995, which would actually become a significant turning point. Steven Spielberg just so happened to be her godfather and would send Drew Barrymore a blanket for her 20th birthday, attaching a letter with the message "cover yourself up," also including the original Playboy images, which were altered to make her look fully clothed. From here, she made the choice to return to Hollywood, appearing in minor roles until her casting in The Wedding Singer roughly 3 years later. This then turned into and a 50 First Dates and Charlie's Angels, making her one of the world's most well-known actresses, just like Lindsay Lohan, although for a slightly different reason. The Parent Trap gave her worldwide fame at the age of only 12, and by her 20th birthday she'd acted in over 30 productions. However, it'd be during one of these movies called Georgia Rule that a letter was leaked implying that Lindsay's life was spiraling out of control. It read, "Dear Lindsay, you have frequently failed to arrive on time to the set. Today you did not show for work all day. I'm now told you don't plan to come to work tomorrow because you are not feeling well. We are well aware that your ongoing all-night heavy partying is the real reason for your so-called exhaustion. We refuse to accept bogus excuses for your behavior. Today your actions on Georgia Rule have been discourteous, irresponsible, and unprofessional. You have acted like a spoiled child and in doing so have alienated many of your co-workers and endangered the quality of this picture. Moreover, your actions have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. We will not tolerate these actions any further." The producer who sent this letter later stated she came to work every day after that. However, Lindsay's personal problems were only getting started. Just months after the letter went public, Lindsay checked herself into rehab for the first time, although this didn't seem to make much difference as she was then arrested for driving under the influence. Over the following 6 years, Lindsay was arrested a total of 6 different times while she'd state, "It is clear to me that my life has become completely unmanageable because I'm addicted to alcohol and drugs." As a result, she'd lose contact with her family and attend court-ordered rehab a total of 6 times, while almost every movie she was cast in during this period was a complete and utter flop. But as the negativity began to stack up, so did Lindsay's desire to get sober.
Was it over a period of time or all of a sudden that maybe I do have a problem?
Over a period of time.
And in 2014, she chose to document the process in an 8-part series with Oprah.
My main objective is, to maintain my sobriety.
And have you been sober since we last met? Yeah.
The show was given awful reviews. However, Lindsay Lohan was finally back on the straight and narrow. She'd moved to Dubai that very same year because there's a certain calmness that I find in Dubai. There's no paparazzi, no cameras, that's a big deal for me. Not to mention the strict culture has helped her to stay sober.
You don't see people going to liquor stores and drinking and that kind of thing. You can go out and have fun, but it's a different kind of fun that you have.
Lindsay has since fixed the relationship with her parents, gotten married, had a child, and even returned to the big screen. But while Lindsay's dark period could have likely been avoided...
Yeah,
that was the one that I remember, like, whenever I was younger. I think she's around a similar age to us. If I'm not
she's
mistaken,
at 86.
A bit older or something.
She's a couple years older than us.
So, like, growing up, I had kind of a crush on her when I was seeing her in, like, movies and stuff.
Mean Girls.
And then I started to hear about, like, how bad she was doing, and it was just sad,
Yeah, because I remember the first movie I ever saw her in was The Parent Trap, where she played twins, and she was actually really good in that. She did a pretty good, fake British accent, and then, of course, there's also, after, she did a few other films, she did Mean Girls, and Mean Girls is what skyrocketed her into A-list territory, because everybody wanted her as, like, their new leading lady because of just her, like, her draw and everything. And I just remember very slowly over the span of, it was like from 2004 until about 2008, 2009, I started to just, have a tapering off of, like, my interest in her, because I kept hearing about how she just kept screwing things up, how she just kept messing up every opportunity that she was given. And then by the time the 2010s rolled around, I was just like, it was like every week you would hear about something new going on with her. Like, she's checked into rehab. Oh, she checked herself out of rehab after only 3 days. Oh, she was involved in a car accident. Oh, she was found with this. Oh, she was found with that. It's like, I understand that the Hollywood lifestyle, and that's the thing, the monster of fame will literally just devour you if you aren't careful. And unfortunately, she suffered that, and it cost her the greater part of her career. I mean, after she turned 18, it was like everyone wanted a piece of her, and all the bad people came in and took a piece. And that was that.
Liam Neeson's was tragically thrown upon him.
man.
Having found success with every type of movie you can think of, Liam Neeson and his family had seemingly the perfect life. However, on the 18th of March 2009, all of this changed unexpectedly. Liam Neeson's wife, Natasha Richardson, was taking a beginner ski class in Canada when she fell and hit her head. The fall wasn't bad enough for her to ask for medical attention, so she'd simply return to her hotel room and tell Neeson she'd taken a tumble in the snow. Well, it turns out her brain had been bleeding the entire time, and after experiencing a splitting headache, she was rushed to the hospital and pronounced dead shortly thereafter. Neeson's final words to his wife were, "Sweetie, you're not coming back from this. You've banged your head. I don't know if you can hear me, but this is what's gone down," while one of their sons stated, "It was so sudden. When it's unexpected and it's just a complete freak accident, it really sort of messes with your mind whether you believe in fate or not." She was a terrific, terrific mother. Neeson never remarried after the incident. However, he and his son played the two main roles in a movie called Made in Italy, the synopsis of which being almost identical to what they'd gone through in real life. Liam Neeson notably states in the movie,
"Disappointment is an absolute certainty. Everyone lets everyone down at some point. How you come back from that, that's romance."
With this redemption...
Yeah. Liam Neeson went through a very dark period after that. He basically lost...
Yeah, he kind of glossed over that there, like that wasn't a very good entry for the theme of the video.
Not really. It was very quick. I would have...
He just talked about what happened to him that was bad, and then the movie he made about it afterwards, and he skipped ahead.
Well, Liam Neeson exhibited behaviors that were very much just like him closing off from a lot of people around him. He's always been a very religious man. He was a devout Catholic his entire life, and when that happened, it caused him to have a crisis of faith. And this instance was drawn up into the film The Grey. I don't know if you've ever seen The Grey. It's about these dudes who survive a plane crash in the middle of like an Arctic wilderness, and they get hunted relentlessly by a pack of wolves. And he's a survivalist out there, and he knows how the wolves hunt, and he has to basically bring his group together to fight them off. And the very end of the film, he's sitting there at the end by himself, and he just like looks up at the sky, and basically his character in the film has gone through the loss of his wife and everything. And he came to the Arctic to basically get away from that. And he's sitting there by himself, and he literally like looks up at the sky, and he said, "So this is it? This is what you've given me after everything you've taken?" And just, he basically at that point, I think it wasn't acting anymore, and he was questioning why God would take his loving wife away, especially after he'd been so devout. Everyone who believes has a crisis of faith every point in their life. And for him, having that crisis of faith and confronting it and getting over it, and it's made him into a stronger person, I feel. And it's made him into a more like astute father to his children, to be there more for his children. And I think that's the most important thing. But yeah, that whole situation with Natasha Richardson, I remember reading about that and just ripping my fucking heart out, dude, because who would expect that? You know, you take a fall in the snow and you think nothing's wrong, and then literally the next day you're in a coma and you're never coming back from it.
Redemption only being rivaled by Macaulay Culkin. After starring in Home Alone at the age of only 10, Macaulay Culkin became the world's most famous child star. He continued to appear in movies for another 4 years before choosing to retire at the age of 14 so he could live a normal life. Culkin was described by co-star Joe Pesci as being a really sweet kid and even at his age very professional.
He brings an incredibly mature perspective to everything he does, in spite of being
very young.
However, as Culkin became an adult, he'd go through many periods of turbulence. For starters, Macaulay Culkin's success ruined the relationship he had with his father.
Everything that he tried to do in his life, like, I excelled at, like, before I was 10 years old.
While his earnings of $23.5 million before his 15th birthday also caused his parents' divorce in that very same year.
But as the money pours in, the Culkin family falls apart.
In the process, Macaulay began to experiment.
I wanted to, like, drink 40s and, like, you know, get laid and smoke pot. Like, you know, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did.
And in 2004, he was arrested and briefly jailed for possession of weed. The Home Alone star, 24, was given 1-year deferred sentences on each of the charges and ordered to pay $540 in fees, after which the tabloid press took this photo and accused Macaulay of taking even harder drugs. He'd respond by stating, "No, I was not pounding $6 grand of heroin every month or whatever," although at the same time he would talk about drugs by stating, "I do love them, they're like old friends, but sometimes you outgrow your friends, and it's therefore no surprise that Culkin has since gotten sober. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't had drugs in my life at some point or another. I had some illuminating experiences, but it's also effing stupid. So besides the occasional muscle relaxer, no, I don't do drugs recreationally."
You're remarkably normal.
Oh, thanks. People always struck at how normal I am. I'm like, just like, wow, really? I think my reputation.
Made it through the maze of being a famous child.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin recently had a baby and is these days usually only in the press for positive reasons.
He married Brenda Song. I think they're married. Let me double check that. But Brenda Song, and I think they have a kid together. Let's see.
By the picture, that's what it looked like.
There she is. Oh, partner. So they're not married, but they are together, and they've been together since 2017.
They do have 2 kids, apparently.
Dang. Well, there you go. So, all right. That's gonna say that it's good to hear about redemptions. I like hearing about redemptions. I love hearing about redemptions because you just hear about so much negativity out there that it's good to hear about stuff that lifts you up instead of just constantly tears you down. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But
it's like my 2 buddies like send news articles a lot of the times, and it's always like rage bait stuff. And so I just every once in a while I come across something that like is actually a positive thing that happened, and I'll just send it back to them and just be like, "This is the kind of stuff I like to look at, guys. Stop sending me all the negative shit." It's like I don't like to think about how shitty the world is. I like to think about the 1 or 2 people that try to make it less shitty, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to like have positivity in your life that brings you up instead of just constantly tearing you down, constantly chipping away at all the stuff. Yeah, it's just, to me, it's just so much better to have that as as something, as just something in your life, because if you surround yourself with nothing but negativity and hate-filled stuff, then you're going to wind up becoming a more hateful person. But I feel like if you take in good and bad at the same time, it balances you out. Because if you take in nothing but good stuff, then you're just going to be mushy all the time and just be like, I think the world is just perfect just the way it is. No. I'm not that glib. I'm not that stupid to believe that the world is perfect, all sunshine and rainbows. But I'm also not going to be one of these people who self-capitulates just like, world's terrible, there's nothing good in it, the world can go fuck itself, I hate everything. Yeah, I'm not about that. I think taking the world as is versus how people want you to take the world, because there are just people out there who present the world as like awful or horrible
garbage fire.
Yeah, that's what they want to portray it as, because that's how they see it, and they want you to see it that way, so that way they're not alone in their misery. But if you see it like I do, and you see the good and the bad, I mean, I think having balance in that aspect is is a much more healthy thing. Much more mentally healthy. But, I don't know. What do y'all think? I mean, do y'all think that it's good to have more positivity in life, but also balance it out with, some of the balance it out with, reality of, like, bad things happening? Feel free to let us know in the comments. But I ain't got nothing else to say. So, I guess that's going to do it. So until next time, everyone, signing off. I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. Take care. Peace.